few of your comments
any-
since we're standing out here.
Anything you want.
And Alan, the last name again?
Montemayor.
Oh yeah, Montemayor.
Montemayor.
Okay, and Sierra Club. Are you still president?
I'm chairman of the Alamo Group of the Sierra Club.
Okay, that's the official title. Okay,
Yes.
great. So we're standing at your house. We're sort of in the Castle Hills area inside Loop 410. And tell me a little bit first off, for example, this sign here, it says Red Autumn Sage. What is it denoting then?
So we have signs in front of most of the plants here so that people that walk by, if they see a plant that they really like and say, ooh, I'd like that for my yard, I wonder what it is, they can immediately identify it and go to their nurseryman and say, hey, do you have Red Autumn Sage? But every plant that you see here is xeriscape. It's also native, and we planted it for bees, butterflies, bats, and pollinators. And what you see is actually the distillation of, when we started in 1991, we planted a variety of plants. Some of them made it through the summer, some of them didn't. So what you see here is actually the distillation of what works well in this area.
For example, the Red Autumn Sage, what is significant about this rather dry-looking bush?
So this time of year, almost everything is dry.
Yeah.
Very few things have flowers.
Yeah, I see, of course. Flowers don't come till the spring.
Either the fall or the spring,
Okay.
depends on the plant, yes. But this one will have beautiful red flowers on it that the bees or butterflies really like. The same thing for many things here. This red yucca, believe it or not, the hummingbirds love that.
Oh.
So we'll see them. We'll be sitting up there eating lunch on the bench,
Yeah.
looking out here and seeing the hummingbirds. We'll see other birds over here eating this. I have to look.
Oh, yeah.
Eating this American beautyberry.
What is it called?
American beautyberry.
Okay.
We saw.
Never heard of it. It looks nice.
Oh yeah.
It's a pretty name.
The mockingbirds love this stuff.
Oh.
But, yeah.
So you are, not to interrupt the flow here of the description of all the plants, but you are really not planting for yourself, but you seem to be planting for the insect world and the visitors we have and the birds and these guys.
Yes. Part of our philosophy is that a healthy ecosystem is healthy for humans as well. And the base of any ecosystem is the plants that act as food sources for all the insects and larvae and other things, butterflies, that are the basis for the food chain for the next level up, the birds. So
I see.
if we have a
We're
native...
sort of feeding upwards.
Exactly. If we have a native food source here that is the traditional foods that these animals have adapted to over the millennia, that makes it much easier for them to raise their young, proliferate, have a healthy cooperative ecosystem with the other insects, birds, and bees. So what we're really trying to do here is create a food source, a refuge, if you will, for animals. For instance, you'll see this bald cypress tree right here.
Yeah, now the red one.
Yeah, it looks dead right now because
it does
it's
look dead.
They call it bald cypress because its leaves dry up and drop off during the winter time, but during the spring and summertime it's supposed to be very green. But it's been such a dry summer, it's just really struggling right now.
Yeah, I see trees along on the Almas Dam. One I passed by and it just fell over. It must have been the other night because when I drive by it, I don't see it falling down, and now it just cracked and fell over. So it's that dry.
It is that dry. We're in the midst of a climate change.
Okay.
It is drying out. We're getting less rain, more days over 100 degrees. Some plants can cope with that, others can't.
Yeah.
So what we have tried to do here is plant plants that can survive the test of time and act as that food source for animals, as I've said.
Are we sort of going into, I think I read some time ago or a long time ago before people talked about climate change much, that we're sort of moving into being a desert?
So San Antonio has always been a semi-arid area.
Yeah, semi-tropical, is that it? Or
no, semi-arid.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I wish we were semi-tropical. No, unfortunately, the Chamber of Commerce does not want to admit that we live in an arid area. So
that's interesting.
Yes, because they want to continue to attract businesses and homeowners into the area because that's what stimulates business.
Right.
Okay. But even SAWS, their motto is making San Antonio waterful. Well, the reality is that we live in a semi-arid area, and we all have to do what we can to cut back on water consumption, or we will essentially run out of fresh water.
Yeah,
It's getting more and more expensive, obviously.
That's about the dumbest slogan I ever heard, making San Antonio more waterful.
Making San Antonio waterful. Is there...
Waterful.
Yes.
Making San Antonio waterful.
Yep.
I don't even know what that means, really.
Well, it's obviously a play on wonderful and water. It's,
As if we did have water?
As if we had plenty of water.
But we don't.
We don't. And what they've had to do is they've had to bring in water from 142 miles away.
Right, I know.
At very large expense to the citizens of San Antonio.
Exactly.
So,
and with all the people moving here.
Yes, and that's one of the things the Sierra Club does is we lobby for sustainable energy and water policy for the city. And this house is really a demonstration of how we can live lighter in all aspects on the environment. So the plants are one aspect of this. Another thing you'll notice is that there are 10 solar panels on the house up here.
Yes, right.
We put those on 4 years ago. And believe it or not, for the past 4 years, we have generated more power than we have consumed from CPS Energy, including powering 2 electric vehicles. So essentially, we've driven 2 electric vehicles for free for 4 years.
So I'm going to say in the article that because everybody wants solar panels and some get them, and you have them. So, but people wonder, well, are they really effective? But I would say if you say so, the president of the Sierra Club, then we can believe what you say about their effectiveness.
Well, there's a conditional element to that.
So tell me, what is the experience really like coming from a verifiable source?
So there are many different ways to get solar panels. You can finance them, and that has some dubious aspects to it. You can pay up front, which is what we wound up doing. But what I recommend to everyone, if you really want to get the bang for your buck out of solar panels, is before you even consider solar panels, do everything you can to make your house more efficient. Install insulation in the attic, in the walls.
Okay.
Put in new doors and windows that are energy efficient.
Okay.
Consider energy efficient appliances and light bulbs. Consider a smart thermostat. Consider ceiling fans. Do everything. Put money into everything you can first.
Into your infrastructure.
Into your infrastructure to lower your bill.
Yeah.
So, for instance, we did all that. We got our summer bills down to about $60 a month.
Wow.
Okay. And for that reason, we only had to put on 10 solar panels to cover all our usage.
I see.
If we hadn't done that, we would have required 20 solar panels and a concomitantly larger bill. And that would have been taken longer to pay off, etc. And believe it or not, the solar panels on our house paid themselves off in 2 years, not based on the cost of energy avoidance, but based on the cost of not having to buy gasoline for 2 vehicles.
I see.
Which is a strange way of looking at it. Okay.
Yeah. Aggregate cost, sort of running your whole household and everything.
Exactly.
Well, that's a very good tip because I never heard that. About solar panels.
It's something that people don't really consider, particularly when they size their solar panels. If they're going to have electric vehicles in the future, they really need to look at sizing the solar panels for their use of that. There's a new law coming into a new benefit coming into effect, the Inflation Reduction Act, which is going to make it very easy for people to get low-cost, efficient appliances for their home. We will take advantage of that. We'll take the last 3 devices in our house that consume natural gas, our water heater, our clothes dryer, and our furnace, and we will convert those to heat pump electric systems, and then we will ask CPS Energy to come get our gas meter. And when we do that, I'll do a press release saying, look, it can be done, and we can live mostly off of the sun.
Sort of in a way, you're living off the grid in the middle of this neighborhood.
Yes, but we do depend on CPS Energy for any peak energy use that we use. So we're still grid connected.
Okay.
So for instance, if we have to run our air conditioner full blast for some reason, we'll have to get energy from CPS Energy.
Yes, right. So you're still attached to CPS Energy. You're sort of doing a deal with them, right? That, but if you have extra energy left over from the panels, don't you sell it back to them? Is that part of it?
Yes. So we have here in San Antonio what's called net metering.
Yeah.
And that means at the end of the month, They take how much energy we shoved back onto their grid and how much energy they gave to us. They subtract the two, and that's what they bill us for. If we used more energy from CPS Energy, we pay about 10 cents a kilowatt hour for that. If we supplied them with more energy, they will pay us about 2 cents a kilowatt hour for that. Now, that doesn't sound like a great deal, but you have to understand that that difference between those energies costs allows them to maintain their infrastructure. So that's a very critical part of the entire formula that makes it work for CPS Energy.
Okay, yeah, of course. I mean,
Yep.
they're not dumb over there, you know. They they probably, at least in the boardroom, they're aware of the coming energy crisis and all of that.
Well, energy costs keep going up.
Yes.
And that's going to be the trend in the future.
Yes.
And the more we can do as individuals to minimize energy and water use and resource use,
yes,
the better off we can be as consumers, and the better lifestyle we can lead.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. What else can you show me?
Oh, lots of different things. We haven't even scratched the
yeah.
surface.
Oh well.
So,
yeah, but I do find it fascinating that 4 times a year you allow people to come.
Oh, yeah.
I would imagine is it by invitation? You don't want
no,
a horde showing up.
We actually we do 2 kinds of open houses.
Okay.
Some will target to a particular group, like we did Walker Ranch Senior Center recently, and they arbitrarily limited it to 22 people because that was the size of their bus. But we will also open it up to all Sierra Club members, anyone from Eco Centro who wants to attend. Pretty much citywide, we'll open it up. And we've had anywhere from about 22 people was the lowest we've ever had, and we had about 86 people at one time, I think, in the course of those hours.
Okay.
But we always point out the solar panels first.
Yeah.
That's the main energy into our home.
Yeah.
You'll also notice that we have gutters. We have a steel roof. Okay. That was actually critical to putting the panels on.
Oh, I see.
Because the panels actually clamp to the raised seam. So this is actually a zero penetration installation. There are no holes in the roof for leakage to occur.
Okay.
We replaced our roof after that big hailstorm, and we just bit the bullet and put a steel roof on, a standing seam roof. You'll also notice that it's got gutters completely around the house.
Yes.
But there's something very odd about these gutters.
Yeah, they're sort of geometrical looking.
They are indeed, but the odd thing is that they don't actually drain out onto the surface of the land.
Oh, they don't drain out on the surface of the land.
No, these gutters
okay.
actually go down into the ground in this teeth right here, and buried in this area right here is a long hollow pipe, a 4-inch diameter perforated pipe. So this is a reverse French drain that actually takes the downflow from our gutters and shoves it underground initially.
Okay, yeah, because that's where the roots are of a plant.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what we're trying to do with this gutter system is slow sink and spread as much of the water that falls on our land as possible.
Yeah, I see. You direct it.
Exactly. You'll also notice that our entire landscape here is mulch.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no grass in the front yard whatsoever.
Right.
That's intentional because we don't have to maintain it.
Yeah.
We don't have to water it.
Yeah.
And it also provides a very attractive area for water to soak in.
Oh,
So-
water soaks well through mulch.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we're shoving as much water underground as we can. That helps water this thirsty tree here, which we haven't been getting enough rain lately.
No.
But moving over this way,
Yeah.
you'll notice that this gutter goes underground also. And it goes into a network of 3 of those buried pipes that come out like fingers in this area. And over this area, we planted very thirsty grasses called sea oats, which some animals really love.
What is the cost of doing something like this with a gutter system?
I don't know the answer to that.
You know, that was the other thing. Part of what the editor wanted too was to know about cost-saving devices insofar as installing these environmental measures, how people will save. So you said in the beginning for electricity, it's only about $60 a month.
Yes.
Is that right? Uh-huh.
No, but right now we're down to about $19 a month.
Okay, you're 19 a month.
Yeah.
Okay, and what was the 60 fee before the
60
solar panels?
before the solar panels.
Okay.
We made the house so efficient that we only had to use a little bit.
You went down to 60.
Yes. Now, but my wife and I are relatively atypical. We keep our thermostat very high.
Yeah, me.
Right now, the thermostat is at 85 inside the house.
Yeah.
We use ceiling fans.
Yeah.
We dress appropriately for the weather.
Right,
Obviously, you can see.
Yeah.
But everything that we do is really geared towards minimizing our effect on the environment.
Would you say it's terribly expensive to do that?
It wasn't cheap.
Yeah.
I know the solar panels, we were out of pocket.
Not just the solar panels,
Right.
but I mean this gutter system.
I'll have to go back and look if that was broken out as an independent cost.
Oh, okay.
But
okay.
I will go back and look at that.
And is this another shield? It's sort of a sun shield.
Yeah, that's actually our garage.
Yeah.
And I wasn't using that window. I typically kept the shades drawn in there.
Yeah.
So I fabricated a special insulated board and this sun cloth over it to make it look nice.
Okay, because I think I've seen those on windows. It's sort of a beige, sort of not filmy, but very net, sort of,
Yes.
Okay, I think I recognize that.
So the water flows down. It feeds these these thirsty plants here.
Yeah.
It also flows downhill to our big cypress tree here. But again, everything is native. Moving this way.
Yeah. Well, that's nice of you to feed the animals.
Oh,
I mean, I interview once in a while Lynn Cuny of the Wildlife Rescue. Anyway, but I said to her, I think, people complain about possum, whatever, but it would be such an empty, lonely world if we didn't have those animals running around and the birds and everybody. Even if you complain about a squirrel, it would be a much more sad world.
We're going to talk a lot more about that when we get to compost back here. But
So there's justification for having these plants for them.
It's much more than just nice to have those animals.
Yeah.
They are the basis for the food chain.
Okay.
And the food chain ultimately is what feeds us. If we destroy the environment by using pesticides and herbicides, by planting non-native plants that are not food for the local animals, essentially we're eroding the base of our own food supply. So it is self-interest is in there, but also just the joy of seeing these animals. The variety of birds and animals and butterflies and bees that we have in our backyard is
very entertaining.
And entertaining and incredible.
Yeah. Because it's not all hard work about doing what you're doing. Having the animals around is a pleasant. It's not. You're not just worried about biology and ecology. It's also nice to have them around.
Oh, you bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, we have a bird watering station right outside our dining room table, and it's just astonishing to watch them taking baths in there and drinking and playing. And one group will chase off another group, and then they'll come back and chase off that group. It's quite entertaining.
Yeah, I bet.
But I'll point out one other thing here.
Okay.
We have a structure there that looks like just a pipe. That's a precision rain gauge that I read once a day to 100th of an inch, and I report that to a citizen science network called CocoRoz. And that allows us to very carefully monitor how much rain we get on the property. And there's a national map where I can go and see what our neighbors are getting around us as well. So that allows us to correlate how much rain we got by how much rainwater we capture in our tanks.
Yeah, I see. But I bet you're not getting much rain, are you?
No, the other night we got 0.86 inches though, which was actually a good amount.
Yeah, because we seem to be consistently hovering, at least in summer, below the aquifer wish.
Yes, we're in stage 4 of Edwards Aquifer conservation measures. Stage 3 for saws. We've been after them actually to go to stage 4, but they don't want to do so because it discourages business.
Yeah.
Which is really unfortunate, but
it's a constant battle, isn't it?
It's a constant battle. Yep.
Capital and business versus everybody else.
Yep. We'll move this way and see some other things. The entire house is LEDs.
LEDs, okay.
So
the only thing I don't like about LEDs, I don't like the light they give off. But then I went to Lowe's and they said you could get soft white and more gentle.
There's a lot more choices now in LEDs.
Okay.
So we have a variety of different kinds in our house.
Yeah.
We only have 2 bulbs that are not LED. You would never guess what they are. One is a reading light, which I really like because it's broad spectrum and it's of adjustable intensity. And the other is the oven bulb, because they don't make high temperature LEDs.
Yeah, I see. Okay, okay.
So
Well,
here
look
we
at
have
this nifty car.
Yeah, we have two electric vehicles here.
Okay.
This one is a 2014 Mitsubishi IMEV, which I bought in 2016 with a very low number of miles on it. It's a wonderful little car.
Is it really?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was very inexpensive. I paid $4,700 for this car because someone had bought it for their daughter to go back and forth to school. And then she moved to a school which was beyond the range of this vehicle. So she just wanted to get rid of it, and she sold it to me for $4,700.
Wow.
Since then, the only maintenance that I put into this thing
Yeah.
is windshield wipers, windshield washer fluid, and tires. That's it.
I've never seen the Mitsubishi electric car, and now I have.
Yeah, it's an IMEV, Mitsubishi Innovative Electric Vehicle.
Wow.
And it's a wonderful little car because
It looks like it. Is it still sold?
No, they quit making this model,
making them,
unfortunately,
yeah.
in 2019, I think it was. But it's a brilliant little car. It only has a range of about 60 miles when it was brand new.
Yeah.
Right now, the battery is 10 years old. The range has gone down to about 45 miles or so.
That's the only problem. Of course, it's still relatively new. Is how long-lived is the battery?
Well,
batteries can be very expensive.
at the cost of this car, it's still a great deal.
Yeah,
It was for me buying it used.
To be honest about the downsides, and there are always downsides in life to anything.
Sure.
The batteries for electric cars, how long do they last?
Well,
that's another one.
This is another one. This is a Chevy Bolt.
Yeah, I remember when those came out.
It has a range of almost 300 miles.
Wow.
So it's a fantastic vehicle. We've taken it out to Big Bend National Park with us. And that's not without its difficulties. But we love having this car. It's clean.
Did you find sockets to plug into going that far west?
We had to use the RV outlets.
Okay.
there in Big Bend to charge this vehicle out there.
Yeah.
And that worked beautifully. It was painless. We'd only charge about maybe once per week or something. This car I will charge every, let's say, 3 days or so. But the beauty of charging it is it's all done at home.
Yeah.
So I don't have to make a trip to the fuel station.
I know. That's the thing I like about electric cars is the convenience that you could just drive right by the gas station and not have to mess with them.
Yep. And you wake up in the morning, you're ready to go the full range of the vehicle.
And especially if you live within San Antonio, if you're not going way out to a job every day, it's quite it's fine in those circumstances.
And because we're older, we don't have to go to work or school anymore. So our trips, we typically combine trips. We don't do jackrabbit starts. We don't go 80 on the highway.
Yeah, you're just sort of tootling around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think
works very well.
Yeah, if San Antonio was the small town it used to be, these would have fit right in because no one really traveled very far.
They're getting better and better. They're extending the range on all these electric vehicles.
Yeah.
The prices are slowly coming down. There are some great deals to be had in used electric vehicles right now. So I'm very enthusiastic about EV. I call myself an EV-angelist.
Yeah. Was it? How much did you have to pay to put up this system here?
So this is part of the solar panel system.
Oh, I see.
We were out of pocket about $5,000 for the solar panel system, including this inverter. But this is the first inverter in San Antonio that incorporates a level 2 EV charger directly into the inverter.
Okay.
Which was very convenient.
So when you get the solar panels, you can also have it be adapted to charging your car.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Because they know that a solar panel person may also have an electric car.
Yes, because you're environmentally minded.
Yes. They target you, they know what kind of customer they have on their hands.
But this is the revenue meter that CPS Energy uses.
Okay.
It displays two numbers. Remember, register 10 is the total kilowatt hours that we sent to CPS Energy. Register 9 is the total kilowatt hours from CPS Energy.
Okay.
You'll notice that register 9 is smaller than register 10, meaning that we are now still about 400 kilowatt hours ahead over the last 4 years for how much energy we've produced. So
okay, you're ahead of how much you've produced.
Yep.
And that would mean you're also way ahead of how much you consume.
Exactly. We've minimized our
Yeah.
consumption
Yeah.
by producing that much.
Because I think in general consumption, I notice like where I live, Texans will sit in their cars. They'll be on their big iPhone. They'll run the engine, for over an hour. They'll sit there, and it gets on my nerves actually, on and on and on. And I thought to myself, how wasteful that is. And Americans are known to be wasteful.
Yes, indeed. Yep.
They just wouldn't. These people who ran it just didn't think.
That drives me crazy too. But this is Texas after all.
I know, and it's hot.
It's hot, and people have certain expectations about what their lifestyle is going to be.
Right.
So I don't try to violate that at all.
No, of course not. No.
I'm very
I understand.
accepting.
Uh-huh.
But we're trying to showcase a better way of doing it.
Yeah, at least to make improvements on how they're living. Small adjustments, you don't have to do the whole thing, but small tweaks here and there will help.
And actually, you got right to the crux of why we do those tours.
Mm-hmm.
Someone will come here and they'll see all these things that we're doing, and they'll say, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. That's way too much trouble.
Yeah.
But, that would work for me.
Yeah, exactly.
That would work. So people can come here and look at these technologies, these methodologies, and they can say, that will work in my home. I can save a little bit there. I can save a little bit there. And every bit counts.
I think that's the right attitude. I think that people who are zealous about things ought to be careful because you can push the opposite way.
Oh, yes. So let's shift gears a little bit.
Oh my God, look at how big your...
rainwater harvesting tank.
Wow. What is the gallon size of this thing?
So we have two of these 1,600-gallon tanks, one there and one over there.
Mm-hmm. You have two, okay.
Two of them, so we have 3,200 gallons total. And you'll notice that the gutters here come down into these almost horizontal pipes, and that feeds our tank through a screen. But before the water comes off the roof and goes into the gutter, we have a very fine screen, which I'm going to show you here. We have very fine stainless steel micro screens that cover the gutters in 360 degrees around the house.
Okay.
This keeps leaves, debris,
out of the water to keep the water more pure.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, wow.
That's
very fine mesh.
And the only maintenance that we have on these is I run an upside down broom on them maybe every 3 or 4 weeks. Right now, you can see there's a little bit of accumulation on those screens.
Yeah.
So I'm due to come by with the brush and brush those off.
Okay.
But anyway, the water comes down through the gutter, down through this 4-inch pipe. It first can drop down into this, what's called a first flush diverter. So the first 5 gallons or so that comes off the roof typically has a lot more dust and sediment in it. So that fills up that pipe first, and then it starts flowing into our tank. There's a secondary fine screen right there underneath that pizza plate. And I fabricated all this stuff myself.
Wow.
Yeah. It's got special.
And so the water in there is pretty darn clean.
It's relatively clean, but because we have these large oak trees that overhang the house, it's got tannin in it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you the water over here right now.
It's not potable, but it's potable for your plants.
You could drink it and it probably would not hurt you.
But that's not its intention.
Exactly. I would, if I were going to drink it, I would filter it, chlorinate it.
And what do you use it for then?
This waters all of our gardens out here. We have 11 raised bed gardens out here.
11 raised beds. Okay.
Which are in pretty sad shape right now because it's the end of the summer.
Yeah.
But I've got pictures in here which I'm going to show you of what our garden looks like.
Yeah.
We raise lettuce and radishes and herbs and carrots and just all kinds of stuff that we eat. And that is food that is so picked fresh and eaten immediately that you can tell the difference.
I bet
really
can. Really sharp, good taste.
Oh, you make a salad out of this and you go, wow.
That's what it's supposed to taste like.
Exactly. Yeah. I love the spinach. I love a spinach salad. But we get many of our herbs off of the herb beds. We've got grapes back there growing in an arbor, which just started a year ago.
And cost wouldn't be much. So I think that in general, instead of just like people worrying about the price, a little money up front probably means lots of savings in the back end.
Yes, because we're used so little SAWS water.
Yeah.
We are at the very lowest echelon of energy use. I mean, we would be considered the lifeline rate of SAWS.
Yeah, I see.
And that's actually part of the deal.
Yeah.
Is we don't want to be using resources that need to be shared with others in the city. Okay. So we do everything we can to reuse as much of the water as possible. So one thing that the water in here, we gauge the height by this tube, which is the water level is right there right now.
Oh, that's a lot of water.
That's a lot of water. There's probably almost 1,600 gallons in here right now. Same with the other tank over there.
Wow.
We actually equalize them.
And so you don't have to, I mean, I see a hose there, but the hose is running from the water tank to water your flowers and stuff?
Exactly.
Okay.
And we can water it two different ways.
Yeah.
We can water using gravity to simply gravity feed. That's a slow way of watering everything. But we do have a small electric pump, and I'm going to show you how that works here in a moment. But that can pressurize the water to 40 psi. It makes it much quicker to water our garden. We hand water typically, but we also have a drip irrigation system that we can use on a timer if we're not here.
Yeah, I see. God, I bet SAWS. Do these companies like you because you're so conservative, or do they not like you because you're not buying much of their services?
It's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah,
It's
a
definitely
love-hate relationship.
It's a love-hate relationship because if everybody did this, San Antonio would need maybe 1/10 of the water that we're currently using.
And then how would they make money? 'Cause
Exactly.
SAWS is
right.
They make money off water.
They make money off the water volume sold.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, we are all going to have to conserve in the future because the supply of fresh water is not only limited, it's getting more and more expensive. If you look at the cost per acre foot of water, when we were drawing just from the Edwards, that was only about $450 an acre foot. The Vista Ridge water is now $2,300 per acre foot. And of course, the citizens of San Antonio are having to pay that difference.
Yeah, so not being conservative means higher bills for you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. So one of the things we do with this water that's kind of fun is I created this rainwater sink, which is a combination of an old stainless steel bar sink and a walker. And we use this for filling our watering pots, etc. It's gravity fed off of the tank. And we just put our...
Wow.
So
that's your water source for the backyard.
This is our water source for the backyard.
Yeah.
Yep. And another thing we do is you'll notice that we have a large compost bin over here.
Yeah.
And that is all our food scraps go in there. Anything except meat goes in there. And the amazing thing about that is it does draw animals to it.
I'll bet.
Which we actually absolutely love. Because again, that is the ecosystem taking off from there.
So you're not upset if you see the raccoon and the...
No. The fox, the raccoon, the skunk, the squirrels, everything comes there as a feeding station, depending upon what we have out, okay? But Texas is hot and dry. It's really hard to keep a compost system going. So we do something a little bit different. I do what's called rainwater assisted composting. So above the compost there is a distribution manifold, and we can actually put our...
Oh, wow.
Oops. Yep.
That's how you keep it from drying out.
Exactly. And normally it operates off gravity. When the water level goes down to right here, it starts doing it, but I have it hooked up to our pressure pump right now just to illustrate what it would look like.
Wow.
So that helps keep the compost moist and keep it composting throughout the year. But
that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Also, one of the things you'll notice about these heritage oak trees.
Yes, these are fantastic trees.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like you cut them.
We don't, and that's what I was going to point out. They have a shape which is very atypical for a manicured oak tree. This is the more natural shape for an oak tree, where their limbs slowly come down to the ground, and that's the way nature intended it. And part of the reason for that, believe it or not, is that we have foxes that run up into the tree. It's an emergency escape path for squirrels. foxes live run all the way up into the trees up here.
Wow.
And they can jump up these limbs and
Yeah.
crawl right up. They can come
Wow.
straight down the trunks. The other day I came out here just at dusk and something went and zoomed off, and I realized, oh, it was a fox.
Yes, right,
Which was
right.
so cool.
You know, these trees, since you don't do that, provide tremendous shade and a cooler home.
Exactly. They overhang the house by a large extent, which provides amazing shade. Unfortunately, it also limits the number of solar panels that I can put on the house.
Okay,
We
yeah.
only have that one area out front.
Yeah.
And that's the reason we only have 10 solar panels, is that was the most I could get into that very sunny area.
Yeah, I see. I see.
So it's a balancing game.
Yeah, and that's the other. How many gallons again?
Each one is 1,600 gallons, so
Okay,
3,200
600
gallons total.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
And
And then the little Buddha to oversee it all.
exactly.
So
Yes.
planting a Buddha there, ostensibly, symbolically, brings peace to the backyard or to the house.
Very definitely. Oh
Okay.
yeah, this is a very peaceful place. We've had parties out here. People love being in a cool environment like this, a
Yeah.
shady environment with nature all around.
Yes.
Another thing that we do, even the when it rains a lot and the tanks fill up, they're going to overflow, right? But we don't want to waste that water, so we basically take that water. What water doesn't flow to the compost bin will come out this very large pipe here.
Okay.
That will happen within 1 inch of the top of the tank.
Okay.
Okay. But that water will then trickle down into another one of these buried pipes.
Yes.
Okay. That goes off towards our compost bin.
Okay.
And again feeds these water-hungry grasses right
Wow.
here. So we're attempting to slow sink and spread as much of this water as we can.
Okay, and then that feeds the plants that are planted
Exactly.
for the animals and for everything else
Exactly.
that you have.
We can move over to our.
Okay.
We'll stay in the shade. don't
Yeah,
worry.
yeah.
It's getting way too hot. But so normally these beds, and I'll show you pictures when we sit down. These beds are green and abundant,
Oh,
and,
that is
and we're
nice.
harvesting stuff every
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
Right now, we only have herbs that are growing that are left,
Okay.
and that's because we're gone 3 months a year.
Uh-huh.
But don't put that in your report.
No,
because,
I won't.
yeah.
I won't. I will not do that.
We're volunteers out in Big Bend National Park as
That's
rangers.
where you were.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. But we let the garden go fallow during those months.
Yeah.
And whatever survives, survives.
Right.
And then in the fall, about mid-October or so, Cheryl will start planting for the winter garden. And we get amazing stuff in the winter. It's really good.
Yeah.
We also have the agarita back here, which the birds love. I love them too, by the way. Let's see. One of the things I didn't point out is that that tree that's planted in front is a bald cypress. During the winter, when it drops its leaves, the sun shines right through it and warms our house by passive solar heating.
Okay.
During the summer, when it leaves out, it shades our house and gives us shade from the hot summer sun.
Okay.
So that was the intent of putting the tree right there,
Yeah.
and the fact that it drops its leaves.
Oh.
Another thing about these trees, you'll notice that we don't trim out the dead branches. The reason for that is that the birds like a variety of different kinds of branches to sit on,
Okay.
depending upon what they're trying to accomplish.
I didn't know that.
If they're trying to hide, they want to be amongst the leaves.
Yes,
and stuff.
okay.
If they're trying to spot prey,
Yeah.
they'll sit in an open branch and be looking around the whole time.
Wow.
So by not trimming out the dead branches, that allows the birds to proliferate in these trees. It allows squirrels to run all around on the trees.
Now
and
that's
stuff.
okay for you, but
Sure.
what if you don't have an understanding neighbor? Then the person would be careful to, because not everybody is as eco-friendly as you are.
So what we've found is that this is an education process. Okay. A lot of people, when we first put our yard in, said, "Oh my God, why are you tearing out your grass?"
Yeah, right,
Oh my
right,
God.
right. I've heard. Okay.
Yeah. So for instance, this area out here, in fact, let's go look at the wildflower
Yeah.
garden because that's kind of fun.
You know
Let's shift over there.
that's the thing. People get in trouble with code violations.
Exactly.
So I think that the moral of the story for those stories is that you don't want to be too zealous about things enough to where you are getting into arguments or having the city come?
Well, we've had the city cite us about 4 times now.
Okay.
Yeah. And the reason
Now we're getting to the heart of the story.
Oh, the reason for that is this wildflower area is planted in a variety of different wildflowers.
Okay, yeah.
It is spectacular. Okay. However, after the wildflowers die down, this turns into what looks like a weedy mess.
Okay.
Okay. That's when we typically got the citations from the city.
Okay.
But you have to do that if you want to have a successful wildflower garden.
Okay.
In order for those plants to set seed, the seed to dry out, fall to the ground, and be ready for next year's growth.
I'm just looking at your. That's not you. Okay, that election
that's us.
sign.
That's
okay.
us.
Okay.
Yeah, we're very active.
Right. I
politically.
noticed all the Harris Walt signs in this.
Yes.
And this is basically Castle Hills.
Sure.
I didn't think it would be such a blue stronghold.
You know, I don't know the demographics of it really.
Yeah, it was interesting to me. It's just something I noticed driving around.
Okay,
all the
sure.
Harris Waltz, and I didn't see one Trump sign.
There's a few, unfortunately, but
I didn't.
so we have all these different certifications for our backyard habitat.
Okay. This is to encourage others.
Exactly, because someone's going to say, God, they're doing butterfly and pollinator. I should ask them what plants they planted for that. Oh, they're doing wildlife habitat. So this all makes a difference. That's why this is an area. Let's go sit in the shade again. Sorry.
Yeah,
it's too hot.
It is very hot. Well, the humidity has gone up again.
Yeah. But this is very much an education, and that's partly why we do these tours periodically.
Yeah.
It really helps educate people of why are we doing these seemingly silly things. Okay. People will look at the lack of a lawn out here and say, well, I don't want that for my yard.
Yeah, that's true. But then again, if you look across the street, not many people really have a full lawn anymore because it's gotten too hot and too
expensive.
Yes, and the water restrictions.
Exactly. And that's, so we were ahead of the game here
Yeah.
as far as not having to use Saw's water.
Right.
So we're not subject to those surcharges and stuff for the extra water.
Yeah.
But it's gotten to the point where some of our neighbors have seen what we've done, and they've gone with a zero watering landscape as well.
Yeah, oh, I see. So did you influence those people?
We did. I would not have encouraged them necessarily to go with rock, but that's what they chose, and it's still lower water. It's just very hot.
Yeah, yeah. I would think so. The dark color absorbing the heat and stuff.
Exactly.
But
so we'll move on.
Yeah.
Is this too much?
Well, it's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's too much, but it is a lot. You have platted out every inch for environmental
and I'm a mechanical.
concern.
I'm a mechanical engineer, so it's easy for me to put together these systems.
Yes.
So it's not for everybody.
Yes,
but
right.
I could do it less expensively if I do it myself.
With your background and everything, yes, I think that's true, and that's why again it's so important to say it's okay to do one little thing. You know, yeah.
Yep. You'll see our solar clothes dryer out here, which is traditional, obviously. We have a tiny electric lawnmower for this tiny patch of grass that's left.
Right.
Believe it or not, we don't water this grass. It's the natural grass because the shade allows it to continue to flourish.
Yes, right,
okay?
right.
We'll move on around over here.
What's the acreage of your corner lot?
I think we have 0.6 acres.
Okay, 0.6. Okay.
Yeah. So it's relatively small.
Just to give some dimensions. Okay.
Sure. But, we have our little electric lawnmower, as I was saying. More water in this tank. Let's see where we are. About right there. So about the same place. Because I did equalize these tanks here recently.
Well, you're very fortunate to have all of that water. That's a lot.
Yep. I typically drain these first flush systems. Again, it drains underground. There's another big pipe bearing all the way along this side of the house.
What about water for the animals when it's so hot? Do you provide any water for the animals?
We do. These two hanging things right here are actually for the birds.
Okay.
And they come here all day long.
Yeah, okay.
All day long. Yeah. We don't necessarily put out any water on the ground.
Yeah.
We've talked about it.
Because of mosquitoes?
Well, it's hard to maintain, yes, because of mosquitoes.
It's hard to maintain.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep. But
And you have a brick home, so that is cooler.
Brick home. We also have very large overhangs. These are 48.
So a large overhang makes a difference?
Yes, because it shades the windows.
Oh,
so you don't necessarily get direct sunlight intrusion through the windows.
Yeah,
which makes for a little bit darker house.
Yeah.
But it also makes it possible to not pay such a large summer bill.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is our main air conditioning unit for the house. The only air conditioning unit. One of the couple interesting things about this is I actually take the condensate from inside the inside unit that would normally goes down the saw's drain, and we pipe it out on an abandoned Freon line here, and it waters this plant right here.
Oh, okay.
So that happens continuously.
Everything is used.
Yep. I can also swap out these hoses right here.
Yeah.
And I can actually trickle that water over the outside of my air conditioning unit and do evaporative cooling on this unit to further increase the efficiency by about 5%.
Wow.
So
that's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would have thought of that.
Well, I mean, we're really trying to be...
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And hopefully I'm going to get rid of that.
Well, you have... oh, yeah, exactly. The meter runner.
Yep. Let's sit down.
Yeah, okay.
Can I get you something to drink?
No, I'm okay, really. I'm fine.
I'm
I'm
go
fine.
grab a glass of water because I'm
Yeah,
parched.
please
I've
do.
been talking way too much. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you have been talking. You should have some water. That's fine. I'll take a seat. Wearing these white pants. Ugh.
I have a couple things to share with
Yes.
you. Actually, if you'll sit over here.
Yeah.
It'll be more comfortable for you. Let me drink a bunch of water.
Sure, please do.
So you're an independent writer.
Yeah. I was a employed journalist for WOAI many years and TV and all of that stuff. So I have
Did you know Jim Jocelyn?
That was TV. I was at radio.
I'm sorry.
I was with Jim Forsyth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I did all the TV news and I did radio news and Texas Public Radio. I've done all of that.
Okay.
And then, but now I'm freelance writing. I've written for everybody, The Report and the Business Journal and The Woman and all of that. And now I'm writing for a scene in San Antonio. So
Very good.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is for them.
Yeah, a couple things. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, and that again, I wanted to impress upon you that the angle that she was interested in. I like all just the stuff, but she's like, well, what about how will it be cost savings for people? Because I think that gets every person, whether they're ecologically minded or not.
Yeah,
So,
this is really about long-term cost savings.
yes.
It's not about a return on investment. It's about showcasing what can be done. Hopefully, a lot of these technologies will become mainstream,
I think so.
and the costs will continue to come down as we get into economies of scale. So, for instance, rainwater harvesting is definitely not for everyone right now because it's still expensive.
Yeah.
But if it lowers our saw's bill for a long time,
Yes.
it will pay for itself.
Yes.
But we're not so much worried about that. We love the benefits of having non-chlorinated water going into our garden. And the benefit of that is that we reap a garden which is just amazing. Okay?
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
You know.
Yeah, nice.
Yep.
Oh, that's a great lettuce
Let-
spinach. Yeah,
yeah,
beautiful,
spinach.
beautiful,
Yep. Lettuce.
beautiful.
Yep.
Beautiful, beautiful.
This is our wildflower area out there.
Yeah.
We put up a sign that says no mow area,
Yeah.
basically, and that kept us from getting citations from the city.
Okay.
basically. But the only way you can have this is if you let it go to seed, and it's going to look weedy for a long period of time. And people just have, that's an education process where people have to understand that, oh, if you want the beauty, you also have to put up with a little bit of...
Sure, because you're dealing with nature.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
I watched a documentary of Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower, and,
Oh, isn't that
and
great?
her, and you know, that's what she wanted everything to look like.
Yep.
Because it is pretty, but it's nature, so it can't be like that all the time unless you're going to deal with plastic flowers, you know. I mean, that's the
Exactly.
cycle.
Or you're going to go in and plant multiple things per year,
Yeah.
and that is not...
That'd be a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, but it's not cost effective
Yeah.
either. And I mean, it depends. If you're in it for the appearance, then maybe multiple flowers per year makes sense. But
yeah, and you concede to people wanting things to be pretty, don't you?
sure, of course,
Yeah.
yeah. But I will tell you, to me, pretty is when I'm getting my own food, and I have flowers and birds and butterflies,
Right.
bees, bats, foxes
Yeah.
in my yard. The sheer number of birds. Each of these trees supports something like 540 species of Lepidoptera, moths and butterflies.
Okay.
Okay, and that is the basis for the food chain, because every bird, regardless of whether they're vegetarian or not, when they're feeding their young, they want larvae.
Yeah.
They want little worms.
Okay,
and stuff.
okay, and that's what moths and butterflies are.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
So the more moths and butterflies,
The
when
more
you look
birds.
at them, yeah, it's lovely to look at, but then, right, okay.
Yep.
You have to kind of see it that way.
So this is for you.
Okay, thank
this
you.
is our vegetables and herb garden.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
sort of what we do.
You know, I have to tell you, a woman who helped me take care of my mom is from Trinidad, Tobago.
Oh,
She
yeah.
is completely about this. Completely.
Yes.
And I'm going to give her this because she's also a vegan.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, out of all the sort of 09 and all that stuff people I know, she's the one who really, you know, is interested in these.
We'll have to get her on the tour.
Yeah, I think she'd love it,
Okay.
frankly.
All right. This is a plant list of everything.
So
that
I'm
we-
going to show her this because
Oh, yeah.
this is what she's all about. She does all
Yeah.
of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She even makes her own wine and all of that.
Yeah, and
So,
I can share these electronically also if it'd be helpful.
Yeah, I would. I'm gonna.
Okay.
After I look at it, I'm gonna give it to her because
Okay.
if there's a dead plant, we all give it to her. That's the kind of person she is. So she'll love this.
Great. This is actually the plants, all the plants that we have in the yard.
Yeah.
It's fairly comprehensive, and it's again this is the
Wow.
stuff that has survived.
How many do you think? I mean,
You know,
I could count it up.
I've never
but
counted them.
Several
actually.
hundred.
I don't think it's that many.
Okay, about 100.
I'm going to guess 100 maybe.
Okay.
But
And the more variety you have, that's good, right?
it draws the most different kinds of animals to our yard.
Yes, because it's a food source for all the different kinds of animals.
Exactly.
They all have their own thing.
Exactly.
And that's what's so worrisome about U.S. agriculture today is that it's been limited down to soy and corn.
We're down to a few monocultures.
Yeah,
really,
and that's very, very bad, isn't it?
Oh, it's bad from a health standpoint for us, and it's
Yeah.
bad from the environmental
For
standpoint.
the soil.
It's bad for the soil. It's bad for the fact that they have to use so many chemicals on them to prevent pests and stuff from eating all that stuff.
Yeah, I think it's just sort of really raunchy that it's just those two things.
So we eat 100% organic.
Mm-hmm.
We eat 20 vegetables a week, okay, out of our garden or from HEB, okay. But we try to buy all organic if we possibly can. I do believe that we're killing ourselves. There is no pesticides or herbicides used anywhere on this property. Everything is weeded manually, or if there's bugs, we pick them off manually and stuff. So it is somewhat labor intensive.
It is, yeah.
But this is also some of the sustainability features
Okay,
of
great.
the house.
This is perfect.
that you
Exactly
could-
what I would need. Yeah.
Yes, this will allow you to
Yeah. Yeah.
write stuff down that's accurate and
Yes. Yes.
with the right
yes.
words and stuff.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yep.
This is very important for your work here because there's so much going on that it needs to be itemized. Yeah.
Exactly.
Documented. Right.
And these are the handouts that we give during
Okay.
the tours. We don't give them to everyone. We just make them available on a table.
May I have 2 and I'll give her 1? Or do you?
Let me just send it to you electronically.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
She doesn't use any of that.
Can you print?
Yeah. No, I'll write my article and then give this to her after I finish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because neither of us. I use a flip phone because I refuse to be part of the system.
I understand. These are the electric vehicles that we have,
Okay.
and some of their characteristics.
Okay.
Basic facts about solar in San Antonio.
Okay. Yeah. Because printing is very expensive, isn't it?
It is, unfortunately. And then this is what we're coming soon is our heat pump water heater, our heat pump clothes dryer, and our heat pump air conditioner.
Okay, so you will have some air conditioning. It can be very hard to sleep when you don't. I have air, like at night I'll put it to 74, but in the day I don't use it at all because there's an apartment above me, and so I don't have to use it. So I don't use it at all. I open up the windows and have fresh air. But at night,
well, we keep it at 85 night or day, and we have ceiling fans over each bed.
I guess you get accustomed to it.
You do. You in fact, I'll tell you, I believe that it is actually better for you to live more at the ambient temperatures than to go back and forth between
But what about the heat, though, increasing? That's something that is hard to argue because there were a record number of heat-related deaths last year.
Yeah, and we address that through our work at Big Bend. We're actually somewhat experts.
Because you would never advocate someone risking a heat stroke
No, of course
and not
not.
using air conditioning. I know you wouldn't.
I-
To not have any. It's okay for you, but you wouldn't tell others to make it hot. Allow it to be hot in the home so that you couldn't sleep or risking your health.
I would advocate that people raise their thermostats in the summer to the point where they're comfortable.
Okay.
I would add that they lower the thermostat in the winter to the point where they're comfortable.
Okay.
And dress according to the temperature.
Yeah.
During the summer, you don't have to wear a lot of clothes to be comfortable.
Right.
Ceiling fans work marvelously. For us, even at 85 sleeping, it actually feels great. Part of the reason that we do this is that at Big Bend, we work in the ambient temperature 8 hours a day. In the sunshine, it can go up to 94 in the mountains, okay? But it can go down to 68 at night.
Yeah, it's dry out there.
And it's extremely dry. Sometimes the relative humidity is 7% out there. But we found that if we heavily air condition our living space and then have to go out and work in that every day, the juxtaposition between hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold is really not good for our bodies.
No.
So I'm very comfortable right now just because we have a little bit of breeze. But we're taking advantage of evaporative cooling because our bodies have learned to sweat, which is actually good because it runs the salt through your body, etc. So there are a lot of benefits to living closer to the ambient temperature rather than setting your thermostat at 72 and just leaving it there.
Yeah, no,
So-
I think that's really, I think that's a bit much.
There's better air quality if you can open the windows periodically.
Yeah, and
you
that's
know.
the other thing because my mother was Norwegian, and so the first thing she
Oh,
did
yeah.
in the mornings was lift up the. So she said all the bad air out, and I do that every morning religiously, all the bad air out. So,
There you go. Yeah.
And then and they saved, they're natural, ecologically minded people, So I'm used to that.
Yep. So that's for you
but,
also. Yeah, it's a
but
fine
to
line.
adjust it to where you're comfortable.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But not to be excessive in either direction.
Yeah, right.
Because and many times it's one person in the family that dictates what the temperature is going to be.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you have to ascribe to their needs.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reality of it. When we had kids, we were much more flexible in our temperatures and stuff because they had their own,
exactly.
thing.
Exactly.
Um,
But what is a heat pump? So, because I saw air conditioner, so you do have air conditioning.
we have a conventional Freon style air conditioner here. It's not a heat pump. It's a natural gas fueled heater. Okay, so we want to get rid of that natural gas. We want to completely move away from fossil fuels to minimize impact on the CO2. Okay, A couple other things that
But what does a heat pump then mean?
Okay, so let's look at the water heater. That's perhaps the easiest thing to look at. If I burn natural gas underneath a tank of water, I can heat that water up to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. I can dilute that water when I take a shower and have a nice, comfortable shower temperature. But in order to do that, I have to continually burn natural gas for a pilot light, for the water heater. I have to, whenever I turn my hot water on, the burner comes on and it starts using more natural gas. So for a unit of energy that I generate using the natural gas, okay, I get a unit of energy in my hot water. Okay. It's a 1-to-1 correspondence. You burn so many therms of energy, you get so much therms of hot water.
But you're a mechanical engineer, so all of this makes sense to you. This isn't anything you go to Lowe's to buy.
Yes.
Okay, so you can go to Lowe's and say, I want a heat pump air conditioner?
Right, no, you'll have to go to an installer for a heat pump air conditioner.
Okay.
But for the water heater, yes. You can go to Lowe's right now. You can go online and look at heat pump water heater. And you'll see that both Lowe's and
carry them.
Home Depot carry them.
And then that means these are methods of keeping costs reined in when you're using heating the water.
Exactly. And the reason that they work, they call them a heat pump because in a natural gas system, it's a once-through system.
Yeah.
You burn the energy, you use the energy. In a heat pump, you actually take the heat that's in the room where this thing is, and you shove that into your hot water. And that leaves the air cooler. So it actually creates an air conditioning effect in the room. Okay? So you get a double benefit in the summertime. You get a cooler utility room and you get hot water. But it's almost a 3-to-1 ratio of because you're just moving heat rather than generating heat. It's actually a much more efficient process.
Okay. I'll leave it at that because I'm going to get confused. Okay, let's see. Well, tell me a little bit about you. Well, I use Ziploc bags and I wash them out too.
Sure.
I don't keep them after they have, when the zip breaks, then I do throw it away.
Yes, we do the same thing.
Okay.
But we'll reuse a Ziploc bag depending upon what's been in it.
Yes, right. If it's nasty and oily, then I'll throw it out, right.
Yes. But if we can simply wash it and put it on the bag dryer to dry, this really facilitates and speeds up the drying because the bag hangs down at an angle. It all drips off into one area, which is typically overhanging the sink.
Okay. Well, you see, because I hang it on the faucet or like another detergent bottle or something like that.
And that works just as good.
Oh, all right.
The nice thing about this is these are porous, so they will absorb some of the moisture.
Oh.
And it's just a little quicker way of doing it.
Where did you get that? Where do you buy that?
Just buy it online.
Oh, okay, online. Is it just a Ziploc bag hang dryer?
Bag dryer.
Okay.
Yep. We are also trying to minimize plastic in our life.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your discussions with HEB. I find that interesting.
Oh, boy.
Because I know very few people will bother to go argue with them about anything.
So, I don't...
They're such a behemoth now.
Yeah, they are a behemoth. I don't argue with HEB. I have discussions. With their managers of their stores.
Okay.
I talk to their environmental coordinator. I've been trying to talk to their CEO, but he won't have anything to do with me.
Isn't he Connecticut or something?
No, he's here.
Okay, all right.
But he doesn't want to, I don't believe, his name is Craig Boyan.
Yeah.
He doesn't really want to confront the issue of plastic.
No, I think it was you who explained in the talk that the plastic is used because, not for the reason you think, but because bagging it is quicker.
So, okay, from an HEB standpoint, plastic bags are used at the checkout stand.
Yes.
Because first off, they take up very little room at the checkout counter. That allows more room for displays of impulse buy items like candy and chips and stuff. It also makes more room for the checkout clerk to move quickly. It supports the bags individually. They pull off one, the other one automatically opens up. They can stuff stuff in, pull it off quickly, and move you through there quickly, get your money quicker, and get you out of there.
Yeah, and all to do with shaving off seconds in the transaction.
Exactly, because seconds equate to more personnel time, equates to more expense.
Yeah,
Okay?
I found that just an astonishingly interesting
Oh, yeah.
explanation.
Yep. Not only that, because let's say paper bags or even cloth bags take up more room, it basically congests that checkout area and can deteriorate the efficiency of movement of the checkout person. Okay. The checkout counter is a highly evolved arena
Who would have thunk,
where everything is positioned
Yeah.
to minimize. Slide your card here.
Yeah.
Get out of the way.
Yeah.
I can give you. I can give you your change very quickly and easily.
Yeah.
And thank you. Move on.
Yeah.
Here's your receipt. Boom. You
Yeah.
zip out of there.
Yeah.
Even the closeness and the fact that you have a little counter in front of you to write a check or something, it's all very carefully choreographed over the last century or so, as that has evolved. So, for them to go to paper bags, or better yet, to a cloth bag, they would really have to rethink their methodology a little bit. You'll see the rise of self-checkout. Okay, same reason: fewer checkers, higher profit margin.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was out at IKEA and no cashiers.
Isn't that amazing?
None.
Isn't that great?
And I'd heard about it and seen it on TikTok, but I didn't know it was already here and it was out there.
Yep.
It had a very ghostly feeling.
Yeah, and yet there is someone there if you do need help.
Yeah,
So
it wasn't the human contact anymore. It had a ghostly, voidish feeling.
Yeah, and there is that aspect of it that is necessarily a negative thing.
Yeah.
Let's see, where was I going with that?
So HEB is, I know they tried with the recycling bags and don't forget your bags and all of that, but that was a few years ago and that died out almost completely.
So there are no plastic bags in Austin. So it can work.
Okay.
It's just that...
How did they do it then at a cashier station?
You bring your own...
And there are no plastic bags in Austin?
There are no plastic bags. If you want to, I think you can buy a paper bag or you can buy a cloth bag in Austin. Okay?
Oh, and so no plastic bags in Austin at the HEB.
And they charge you for every bag that you...
Because, when I go to Norway, they say, do you want a POSE, P-O-S-E, and then I have to pay for it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. That's been like that a long time.
And it's going to have to evolve to that because we are killing ourselves with plastic. There's plastic everywhere in the environment, in the water we drink, in the air we breathe, the food we eat.
That we all have a credit card.
The 2 credit cards a week.
You probably don't, though.
So we do everything we can to minimize plastic use in our systems.
Yeah.
We don't use single-use plastics. I have not drunk out of a plastic bottle for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if you watch a movie called Tapped, you won't either.
Okay.
Okay.
So you use a glass like we used to do before Evian became such a big deal. We all just drank water out of a glass, and we weren't drinking it in bottles all day long.
Well, unfortunately, Coca-Cola has figured out that you can make a lot of money selling very inexpensive water at relatively high prices.
Yeah.
It still seems way, way cheap to us, so cheap that we can just buy it and throw away the bottle. Okay, which is killing our environment.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff is going to persist in our environment for generations, if not hundreds of years.
Mm-hmm.
It's entering our waterways, our oceans. By 2050, there'll be more weight of plastic in the ocean than fish. Okay, we see the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, thousands of acres of plastic floating on the ocean. It's the tip of the iceberg. 80% of the plastic, you okay on battery?
Yeah, I am, actually.
So 80% of the plastic is actually either floating in the water column or on the floor of the ocean. Only 20% of it is floating above.
So 80% is on the seafloor.
Or mid-column in the water.
Oh, awful.
Halfway. So it is...
I'm not... since we're talking, I'm going to teach a class on Norwegian explorers, and so I'm going to do Tor Heyerdahl first. Anyway, the point of that is that even in the 70s, when he was crossing with Kon-Tiki and Ra in the 70s, they would find clumps of oil, and they'd be reporting back to the governmental authorities, and they'd find them all the time.
Yep.
So even then...
Well, fortunately, There are getting to be stronger and stronger regulations on our open oceans.
Yeah.
The regulations about what can be dumped off of a ship
Yeah.
are getting more stringent
Yeah.
and more enforceable, maybe as importantly. But I've been to Antarctica. I've been to the high Arctic.
Wow.
I've spent 3 months in Scandinavia.
Oh.
So I love that pristine environment.
Yeah.
But at
Yeah.
the same token, we saw lots and lots of plastic trash everywhere we went. We've been to the Maldives. We've seen entire islands covered with plastic and stuff.
Wow.
Yep. You know, it's
Yeah, we
it's
really
a nasty
have.
problem.
Yeah.
And it's not going to go away until we change our buying habits. So I basically have a plastic bottle with a big black X on it, and I will hold that up at meetings and say, don't buy single-use plastics. Reduce the amount of plastics that you buy in everything else. So if you have a choice, if you can buy a plastic glass or a glass,
Yeah.
buy a glass. If you can buy a plastic trash can or a metal trash can, buy a metal one.
Consumer habits are insidious, aren't they? Because we started to do this plastic bottle drinking water all the time, and before we knew it, that's what we do now. And we never had a cell phone on us, and now if you don't have an iPhone, you're sort of an outcast from society. So these things are very insidious, aren't they?
Yeah, so about a little over 100 years ago in 1906, they invented the first man-made plastic called Bakelite.
Yeah,
Okay.
Bakelite.
And since then, we as consumers have been sending the signal to the industry that we want cheaper, lighter, more protective, long-lasting, durable plastics. And that is exactly what the industry has done. They've given us amazing products that shield all our food from contamination,
Right.
that we can still view it, that protects it during transit, that keeps water away from it in our ice chest, that we can use once and it's cheap enough that we can dispose of it.
Yes.
So it is the ultimate convenience for us,
And
but
you will admit that it's sanitary.
it is sanitary, but there are other ways of doing it.
Okay.
Okay. It used to be that we would wrap meat in paper. That was perfectly acceptable. And
Wax paper, they'd wrap it up like a
It's
package.
wax paper,
yeah.
exactly.
And then the housewife would put it in the paper bag that everybody used.
exactly. Or you would go to a supermarket and you would buy apples with nothing, no packaging
Yeah.
on them. Or you would buy strawberries in a cardboard container.
Yeah.
We can do that again.
Yeah, before plastic was invented, of course we had ways of moving our food around.
Exactly.
Not everybody was falling down with, listeria or
Yeah.
anything. So.
So I'm not advocating completely getting rid of plastics. There are some uses for plastic that are going to be very intractable,
Yeah.
but we absolutely have to minimize it, and we for sure have to minimize single-use plastics.
Yes, okay, single use. Okay.
Yeah. And I don't mean to be on a soapbox here for you.
No, but I guess you kind of though have to be. You do have to stick your neck out. I think that's the
Yep.
I think that's the hard part about being somebody like you is that you must stick your neck out and be willing to be criticized.
If you're going to talk the talk,
And
you
be a
better
pain
walk
in the ass.
If you're going to talk the talk, you better walk the walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's really what we're doing. Also, our philosophy in the Sierra Club is we're not really necessarily confrontational. I'm not going to blast
No,
HEB.
I don't think Sierra Club has that at all.
No, we don't.
No.
But our policy is polite, persistent persuasion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there are two ways. Everything that we're fighting against is particularly here in Texas, is a huge juggernaut. It's got years of practice. It's got an entrenched oil industry. It's got vested interests and stuff. So this is it looks like a huge battleship that we're trying to push. Okay, and there's two ways to move a battleship. You can beat your hands and smash your head against it, and you wind up with bloody hands and bloody head. Or you can get a lot of people pushing slowly on it for a long period of time, and soon the battleship starts to move. And that's what we're doing.
Okay.
So one decision at a time,
Yeah.
one conversation at a time, that is the effect that we hope to have on the environment.
How old is the Sierra Club?
In the 1890s, I believe, is when we originated
And
in California.
what is the mandate this national club? Is it an ecology club?
We're the oldest and largest environmental group in the United States.
Okay.
About 3 million people in the United States, about 3,000 people locally.
And what does environmental necessarily mean?
Environmental means that we care for the environment.
Okay.
We care for it
The
in
natural environment.
the natural environment. We care for that in a number of ways. Number one, we love to get out and experience that environment in pristine ways, because we very definitely feel that experiencing nature is important to who we are as human beings. It is very calming for us. It gets us away from the rapid lifestyle of the city. It's good for our mental health. It's good for breathing fresh air. It's good for focusing your eyes at a distance rather than only on a monitor up close. So that's one of the prime elements of Sierra Club, appreciating the outdoors through personal experience. We try to get a lot more people out into the environment through trips, outings, etc. We have trips to Big Bend, to California, all around the world, really. Number two, we respect the environment by not polluting it as much as possible.
Right.
We try to live lighter on the environment by consuming less of everything. That's power, water, consumable like plastic, everything, food. Obviously, we're living in a very crowded world. The more resources we consume, the more difficult it is for everyone else. So we try to live light on the environment in all aspects.
Yeah.
And that's what you saw here today,
Okay.
is all of these things combine for us to not only live lighter on the environment, but pay less money to do so.
Yes, exactly.
So-
How much do you think that, so you're down to $19 a month for your electric bill?
Yep,
Okay.
typically.
That's very low.
Yep, and the reason that it's that is that there are fixed charges that CPS Energy has
Yeah.
to help pay for infrastructure.
Yeah.
They have to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about, so in 5 years, if somebody adopted some of your methods here, would they see a cost saving in about 5 years?
Some of them you'll see cost savings immediately.
Okay.
Okay, so if you insulate your attic, you'll see cost savings in the winter and you'll see cost savings in the summer.
Okay. And better windows?
Better windows,
Yeah.
the same thing,
Yeah,
etc. Because I'm a mechanical engineer,
Yeah.
I actually installed these myself. I did
Mm-hmm.
them one at a time. I did a good job on every one. I insulated, I did the correct foam in.
Mm-hmm.
They're extremely airtight. I bought high quality, argon-filled, low-E glass windows. But even then, they weren't very expensive because I
Yeah.
bought them at Lowe's on
Yeah,
sale.
See,
You know.
but they're getting cheaper and cheaper.
They are getting cheaper if you can install them yourself,
Yeah.
or get an installer who will work with you
Yes.
on that. Let's see,
Certified.
growing our own food.
Yeah.
We save on food a lot.
How much do you think you might save a year?
My wife is going to have to try to quantify
Yeah, okay,
because she's
that's fine. You could email me or something.
she's sort of the bean counter in all this.
If you've got some facts and figures, you can email me.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
after you talk to her. And
Okay.
Because it's always helpful for the person reading to see this
Oh,
numbers.
You can use this. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to unclip all those and
Oh
make you.
yeah, that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, that would be great.
Let's see, what else? We are trying to affect the mix. We are very much about air quality. Okay. We're trying to affect the mix of transport fuels by suggesting that people drive electric vehicles.
Yeah.
We're trying to charge those vehicles only at night. So
okay.
our vehicles we really only plug them in at night because that's when CPS Energy has abundant and clean wind energy available
Okay.
that sometimes they don't even have a use for.
Yeah.
That energy is so abundant some evenings that the cost of energy on the grid actually goes negative for some hours.
When did you start to become interested in doing all of this?
I started with the Sierra Club in 1980 here in San Antonio.
Okay, so have you always, as a younger person or starting out in your career, always been thoughtful of these things?
So-
or did you have a revelation?
My sophomore year of high school, I had a revelation.
Okay, but that was a long time ago. I mean,
Yes.
speaking for both of
Yes,
us.
that was 70.
Yeah. So you
72.
because in the 70s, environmental things were important. because I remember going around with a big rice paper collecting signatures to save the HARP seal and stuff.
And we were recycling phone books back then.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I remember the 70s as being this way. I think it shaped, but then it kind of dropped off with the 80s and Reagan and all that kind of stuff, who took the solar panels off the White House, etc.
Well, I've always been interested in science and
Yeah.
mathematics
Okay.
because I'm a
Yeah,
mechanics,
right,
etc.
Exactly.
So when I was in high school, I became president of our high school science club.
Okay.
And partly because of that, I was invited to be part of what was called the Summer Institute for Environmental Health Sciences
Oh.
at Lee High School,
Uh-huh.
taught by an amazing professor called Fred Kinman.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all summer course,
Mm-hmm.
and 3 times or maybe 4 times this summer we went camping with this group.
Mm-hmm.
But during the week we would study subjects in environment and health.
Mm-hmm.
And of course the two are intimately linked.
Mm-hmm.
I operate in what's called the food, energy, water nexus,
Okay.
because all 3 of those are intimately linked.
Yeah.
The water helps grow our food, the sunlight helps grow our food, the food nourishes us. We use energy to keep ourselves warm, we use energy to help grow our crops, etc.
Now, what about your health?
Oh,
'Cause so many Americans start with this business of,
yeah.
and the last thing I want to do, being, having a Norwegian parent, is being involved with the American medical system.
Boy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, as we get
I don't
older.
want anything to do with it.
Well,
I mean, I know it's inevitable, but I don't want to be involved. So would you say that your way of living will keep us out of hospitals, and how is your health because of it?
So I consider my health excellent.
Do you have
my
good
wife,
blood pressure?
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep, and my wife as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're both relatively thin.
Mm-hmm.
We try to control our diet, control our caloric intake, eat a lot of vegetables.
Right,
That is
okay.
key. Eat very few processed foods.
Oh, yes,
They're now
right.
finding out that processed foods are probably one of the reasons for the diabetic.
What would be a breakfast, lunch, dinner, just brief example for you?
Okay, so breakfast for me is going to be rolled oats
Yeah.
with some form of fruit in
Okay,
it, and cinnamon and walnuts.
Okay.
Or it might be granola
Okay.
with a little bit of non-dairy yogurt
Okay.
in it. It could be just fruit.
Yeah.
It could be scrambled eggs
Yeah.
with a little bit of salsa in it. I love that actually. But we really try to stay away from processed cereals and stuff like that.
Yeah. So staying slim and then having a healthy diet.
Yes.
With all the vegetables and blah blah blah.
Yeah, we eat way too many carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Way too many dairy products.
Yeah.
Way too much meat.
Yeah.
in our country.
Yeah. I don't
Ob-
eat any of that, or I don't eat any.
Good
meat.
for you.
Yeah, I don't eat any.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we would love to approach vegetarianism, but we still love our fish
Yeah.
occasionally. We still love chicken.
Oh, fish. Yeah.
We have chicken in the crock pot right now, as a
Yeah.
matter of fact.
Yeah.
But my wife cooks almost all our meals.
Yeah. So your nutrients come in great abundance.
Yes.
Growing your own vegetable isn't just about how nice, but it's got more nutrition.
Exactly.
And therefore, it translates into your health, and then your having good health translates into not having to go to the doctors and pay medical bills necessarily.
Exactly.
Okay.
So good health is just the absolute slowest way of dying.
Yeah.
Okay?
And staying out of all the maelstrom of these bloody systems.
And all the compounding injuries associated with medications.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at it because I ushered my parents through it. I just, I'm desperate to leave because I don't want any of that. And, and this is getting off the subject. I wouldn't add it, but I mean, I have friends who are sort of very much into, they always want to run to the doctors, but I think it's a sort of a gruesome experience. You sit in these, I've taken them, and they sit in these waiting rooms with the television blasting constantly. And then everybody's just, and then everybody talks about, my meds as if it's some sort of companion.
So funny joke about that. When older people get together, the first thing they do is describe all their body parts which are not working.
Yeah.
Oh, my knees or my hip,
yeah.
my diabetes. So what you call that? It's called an organ recital.
Oh, funny. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I find that sort of thing another indication, because I was a Bernie supporter in 16 and 20.
Oh, cool.
I find that another indication, I guess my half Norwegian is coming out, as Americans being so entirely brainwashed.
Yes, we are terribly affected by the commercialism associated with what we see on TV, what we read in publications, on the internet. We actually don't watch TV, which is kind of surprising. I get most of my news off the internet. I'm very selective about that. You have to be, because there is a lot of marginal, what I would call news out there. But yes, the commercialism associated with products and product promotions and getting you addicted to different things is terrible.
That's why I have just this little thing, because I don't want to be involved. I sort of have spent the last few years of my life sort of extricating myself from the U.S. economy, because I feel like all we are is a wallet to be picked.
You are very atypical, but I'm glad to see that you could do that. My wife and I are also very atypical. We are terrible consumers. If everybody consumed like us, the economy would go bust.
And that was my signal. I think I saw a Woody Harrelson video some years ago, and he said if everybody would quit buying the crap, all of these corporations would fall on their knees.
Yes, that's very true. So there's a great saying from, I've forgotten which book it's from, but we live like no one else so that we may live like no one else.
Yeah, right.
And that's very true.
Especially in this country. This is sort of the leader of the crap lifestyle.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But it's getting better, but...
some aspects are getting better, some aspects are getting worse. This whole disposable economy seems to be getting worse. The plastics companies are gearing up to double production by 2050. So we are the only people as consumers who can put an end to that. We can only do it by voting with our pocketbook, voting with our vote, and every buying decision we make, we have to be thoughtful. We have to think about what is the ultimate consequence for us and for the environment when we make a buying decision. You, I think, are already doing that in your life. Okay, kudos. Okay, but the other thing about that is to be vocal. Be not afraid to speak up, to have a conversation with a stranger, to walk through an H-E-B line with your reusable bag, to turn to the person behind you and say, I have a brand new reusable bag that I'm not using. Would you like it?
I see. I see. That's not too intrusive.
I've only been refused once. Many times I've done that because occasionally I'll wind up with too many reusable bags for one reason or another. I went to a show and they gave me a gimme bag or something like that. They can't accumulate, so I give them away. Okay? But that's a particularly good way of doing it because, number one, that person sees it. Number two, the clerk sees it. Number three, the people around you see it. Okay? So I will speak to any group who will listen.
Okay.
As you're aware. I'll go to church groups. I'll go to senior centers. I'll go to environmental groups. The more people, the more conversations we have, this will only change one conversation at a time. Because when you're listening to me, you're either believing what I'm saying or you're not. There's a little voice in your head that you evolved when you were a child. It's called the already listening voice. And that voice is judging everything that's coming in, visual, audible, everything. And it's saying, I don't believe that. That goes against my rules. That goes against my training. Okay? So I believe that, I don't believe that. Okay? But those rules are rules you made up when you were 4, 5, 10. Okay? And you're a different person now. And yet, you're listening to those rules. Most people don't even know that voice is there, but it is. It's the already listening voice. And once you start listening to it and saying, that's not right, that doesn't apply to me anymore. I can make a different decision with my life. I can move forward. I don't have to buy the plastic bottle.
Well, fortunately, I had parents who were very sophisticated and astute and animal lovers, so I didn't have any conflict at home.
What did they do? I'm curious.
Well, my dad, actually, he was author of military aviation history. He started out as a cub reporter at Kono, and then he went up to New York, and he worked for a men's magazine. True. He was an aviation editor for True Men's Magazine, and then he got his first book contract with Random House at 36 years old about the Lafayette Escadrille, because his father was a colonel in the Air Force and a fighter pilot, a war pilot.
Well, you come from a very educated background.
Yeah, so
probably
I had,
very literary background.
Yeah, and then my mother was an artist from Norway, from Oslo, south of Oslo.
Great.
Yeah, so at home I didn't have to worry about saying anything that was untoward or unwelcome.
Unpolitic, yeah.
Yeah, because we all felt the same.
Good for you.